The paradox of plenty in Balochistan. This is Balochistan, Pakistan's largest and most resource-rich province. A land so vast, it makes up 44% of the country's total landmass. A land so rich, its soil holds immense reserves of natural gas, gold, copper, and critical rare earth minerals. It is, for all intents and purposes, a geostrategic treasure. Cut to a high-contrast shot of the bustling Gwadar port, then to images of gas pipelines or a mining operation. And yet, it is here that we find a profound and tragic paradox. Despite this immense natural wealth, Balochistan remains the most underdeveloped and impoverished region in Pakistan, with more than 70% of its population living below the poverty line. This is the very definition of the resource curse, where a land's greatest blessing becomes its most crippling burden. To understand the conflict, we must go back to its origins in 1948, a moment of contested history that continues to fuel the fire. On August 12, 1947, Mir Ahmad Yar Khan, the Khan of Kalot, declared Balochistan's independence, asserting a sovereign status. The Balochistan parliament voted repeatedly against merging with the new state of Pakistan. But then, a series of events changed everything. The smaller, feudatory states of Kalot chose to accede to Pakistan independently, leaving the Khanate geographically landlocked. On March 27, 1948, under immense pressure and with reports of Pakistani troops entering the province, the Khan finally signed the instrument of accession. The official Pakistani narrative holds that this was a voluntary, legitimate decision, citing a prior vote by a council that favored joining Pakistan. The Baloch nationalist narrative, however, sees it as a forced accession under direct military threat. This unresolved historical grievance is the very foundation of the decades-long insurgency, a wound that has never healed. Timeline of the 5 major insurgencies since 1948. This initial resistance set the precedent for a cycle of violence that has plagued the province ever since. From the first rebellion in 1948 to the ongoing low-level insurgency that began in 2003, each uprising has been fueled by the same deep-seated grievances. The problem is not a lack of money, but a fundamental failure of governance. The province is dependent on federal transfers for over 76% of its revenue, yet it has a chronic problem with fiscal mismanagement. Large portions of the budget are consumed by non-development expenses, while development funds are underutilized, often lapsing by up to 40% annually. The result is a broken society. Decades after the discovery of the Sui gas fields, 70% of the population still has no access to natural gas. It is a brutal feedback loop. Poverty and neglect fuel the insurgency, and the insurgency's violence makes it impossible to build the very infrastructure needed to solve the problem. At the heart of this conflict is a human rights crisis. Pakistani security forces have been accused of widespread abuses, including enforced disappearances, torture, and extrajudicial killings. The Pakistan Commission of Inquiry on Enforced Disappearances has recorded at least 2,752 cases in Balochistan, though human rights organizations say the number is far higher. This includes the case of Mahrang Balak, a prominent activist whose abduction in 2024 highlighted the targeting of women dissenters. But the violence is not one-sided. Baloch separatist groups, particularly the Balochistan Liberation Army, are responsible for their own brutal abuses. They have been accused of ethnic cleansing through the targeted killing of non-Baloch civilians, including teachers, engineers, and journalists, which has led to a significant brain drain from the province. What was once a local conflict has become a high-stakes geopolitical chessboard. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a flagship project of China's Belt and Road Initiative, runs straight through the province. The Baloch insurgents view CPEC as a symbol of neo-colonial exploitation and have made it a primary target. Adding another layer of complexity, the United States has shown a renewed interest in Balochistan, driven by a desire to access the province's vast reserves of rare earth minerals. These minerals are vital for defense and green technologies, and the US is seeking to reduce its dependency on Chinese supply chains. Iran and Pakistan regional tensions also play a role. The porous border with Iran's Sistan and Balochistan province has been a source of conflict, most notably in January 2024, when Iran and Pakistan traded missile strikes, accusing each other of harboring militant groups. At the same time, Pakistan has consistently accused its other rival, India, of providing support to Baloch insurgents. So, what can be done? The path to peace is complex, but the first steps are clear. The government of Pakistan must address the foundational issues, implement transparent economic reforms, end human rights abuses, and foster genuine political inclusion. At the same time, Baloch leaders must re-evaluate the effectiveness of violence and commit to a peaceful political struggle. For the international community, a coordinated approach is needed, where aid and investment are tied to measurable improvements in governance and human rights. The problems of Balochistan are not a single issue, but a tragic confluence of history, economics, and geopolitics. The cycle of violence will only end when the region's wealth and strategic importance are used to benefit its people, not to condemn them to a future of perpetual conflict. Only then can the paradox of plenty finally be resolved.